Part 21. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 201. Boom. The ice flower was like a bolt of lightning that shot straight through the passage and reached the end. But at this time, Binghua was in trouble again. There was more than one passage here, and Huaye's direction was still unknown. It would be bad if he accidentally took the wrong path again. Is Hexi here? Binghua stopped in the middle of a cross passage, suspended in mid-air, flapping her wings and calling He-11 in the dark communication. In the Tianji Royal Court, He-11 was looking at the data on several projection screens, thinking hard about how to crack it. The strength of the Tiangong's firewall exceeded He-11's expectations, and it was even more difficult to deal with than the Heavenly Blade. If He-11 were at the scene, he might have some way to directly invade the large shipboard control system on it. But now He-11 can only stare at the various data of the Tiangong, unable to make the slightest disruptive operation. What's more, what worries He-11 is the situation on Kesha's side. Although Liang Bing has led his men to the rescue, but according to the latest news, Liang Bing was blocked outside the encirclement, and is now organizing the Apocalypse Legion to attack. At the same time, Huaye seemed to know Liang Bing's accomplishments in micro-wormholes, which disrupted the space of a nearby star field and made it impossible to travel through long-distance micro-wormholes beyond the horizon. It has now been 2 hours since Kesha was surrounded by the Male Angel Legion and the Royal Guards led by Chen Xing because that area was blocked by Huaye's Tiangong flagship. He-11 now has no way of knowing Kesha's identity inside it. Condition. Just when Hexi was worried about the unfavorable situation that the female angel was currently in, Binghua's communication suddenly came in. Binghua, I'm He-11, how's your beheading plan going? Hexi waved his hand to zoom out the projection analyzing Tiangong's data, called up the communication with Binghua, and directly asked the question he was most concerned about without any politeness. Sister Hexi, I failed. I don't know where Huaye has escaped now. I don't have a detailed map of the Tiangong and Huaye's location information, so I can't find him at all. I contacted Sister Hexi just to ask if you have any. Is there any way? Binghua on the other side was not idle while contacting Hexi. He found a random passage and rushed in to try his luck. He-11 did not answer immediately, but reactivated the projection light screen for the invasion of the Tiangong. He was not pursuing the effect of controlling the entire Tiangong after the invasion, but trying to obtain the information of the Tiangong. A minute or two later, after a complicated operation, He-11 bypassed the Tiangong's dark plane firewall, invaded the Tiangong's shipboard public system with the lowest authority, and found the Tiangong's map information. Binghua, I only found the Tiangong's map, but not Huaye's location information. Based on your location, I recommend you go to the main control bridge of the Tiangong and ask the male angels there. Hearing Hexi's reply, Binghua immediately understood what it meant. The next moment, Binghua's dark plane received a piece of data. After opening it, Binghua found that it was a map of the Tiangong, in which the bridge of the Tiangong was the location happened to be not far from her. Binghua raised the 7-killing king sword in his hand. The burning orange light representing dark energy emerged on the sword and was restrained into a thin layer covering the blade. The next moment, Binghua raised the sword and slammed it against the wall of the passage beside him. With a few swings, several burning yellow cuts immediately appeared on the metal wall. Binghua didn't hesitate to raise his leg and kicked him, and he and the cut metal wall entered another passage. Report to Captain. Heavenly Sword King Binghua is heading in a straight line towards us. We expect to arrive at the bridge in 3 minutes. The blonde male angel, who was called the captain, walked over quickly after hearing this and cast his gaze on the projection screen. On the map showing the internal situation of the Tiangong, a red triangle was quickly rushing through the walls blocking its front and rushing towards the middle of the map. The captain frowned. He received an order from Huaya more than 10 minutes ago to try to hold off the Heavenly Sword King Binghua to buy time for reinforcements to arrive. As a means of blocking, thousands of Imperial guards on the Tiangong followed. The captain called him. The captain of the Tiangong took a look at the current situation of the Imperial guards on the Tiangong. King Huaya took away more than 1,000 Imperial Guard soldiers when he left the Tiangong. At this moment, the Imperial Guard soldiers on the Tiangong are scattered everywhere. There are still about 7,000 people. More than half of them are too far away to mobilize. In addition, we have to remove the female angels who are running around and destroying the Tiangong, so the number of Imperial Guards that can be mobilized at this moment is only a few hundred. Immediately send an order to the Imperial Guards near the bridge, and ask them to quickly go to the route of the Sky Sword King and block the approach of the Sky Sword King. It's Captain. After hearing the captain's instructions, the male angel immediately began to forward the orders through the dark channel. But less than a minute after the order was issued, suddenly the wall on one side of the bridge began to turn red. Boom! A violent explosion broke through the wall of the bridge, and scorching flames and extremely violent dark energy rushed into the bridge from the damaged area, like a storm, leaving the bridge in a mess. What happened? The captain pushed aside the two male angels blocking him and asked calmly. A male angel who was hit by the blast wave and fell to the ground quickly got up and was about to turn on the projection light screen to check the situation. A sharp sound broke through the air, and 6 silver rays of light flew in from the damaged part of the wall, and instantly passed through the necks of several male angels. Just as the male angels in Cambridge were hurriedly avoiding these silver lights, the sound of footsteps was heard, and a figure emerged from the rising faint black smoke. It was Binghua. Because the time was too long, Binghua simply used flame bombing to clear the way. It only took tens of seconds to open the way to the Tiangong Bridge. Hexy, is it okay? I have arrived at the bridge of the Tiangong. What should I do next? Binghua just scanned the scene inside the bridge and saw that there were no powerful super soldiers, so he focused on the call with He-11. Binghua, you ask the male angels in the bridge to close the dark plane firewall of the Tiangong. As for how to make them close it, you don't need me to teach you. I understand, Sister Hexy, just wait and take over the Tiangong. Binghua temporarily closed the call with Hexy and looked at the only golden male angel on the bridge who was protected by other angels. Lifting his sword and pointing it, Binghua spoke directly. You should be the captain of the Tiangong. Immediately close the dark plane firewall of the Tiangong. I can spare the lives of all your angels. The captain looked at Binghua, who didn't take them seriously, and refused directly. I am the captain of the Tiangong. Don't think that I will succumb to you, female angel. Binghua didn't say anything when he saw this. Some angels don't let them know the cruelty of reality, and they never know who has the final say now. With Binghua's thought, the handleless silver sword suspended in mid-air in the bridge immediately shot towards the Tiangong captain. 2 puffs. The 2 male angels blocking the front of the Tiangong captain were directly penetrated through the chest, and the flying blood splashed all over the Tiangong captain behind. Close the Tiangong's dark plane firewall immediately, and I can spare your lives. Binghua repeated these words again, and the Tiangong captain's facial muscles twitched slightly as he was spattered with blood. King of Heavenly Sword, is this how you negotiate terms? Binghua didn't speak again, and the floating silver sword shot out again, and 2 more male angels protecting the Tiangong captain were penetrated through the body. Close the Tiangong's dark plane firewall immediately, and I can spare your lives. Binghua repeated his request again, saying that this was his style of negotiating conditions. Because the water group is too long today, there is only one update, star. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 203. Seeing Binghua being so tough. With an attitude that leaves no room for anything, the calmness on the Tiangong captain's face can no longer be maintained. The moment he gave up the resistance in his heart, the expression on his face fell. It was true that he was the captain of the Tiangong, but he still didn't want to die. He still had thousands of years of good time to enjoy. If he died here today, that's too frustrating. I promise you to close the Tiangong's firewall immediately, but King Tianjian, you have to promise me to let us leave the angry sea. Binghua frowned slightly but didn't think much about it, as long as these male angels followed his instructions. I can agree to your request and let you leave after the war is over in the name of King of Heavenly Sword, but if you dare to deceive me, this will be the fate of all of you. As he spoke, Binghua waved his destiny sideways, and a several-meter-long red cut mark was imprinted on the wall inside the bridge. The captain of the Tiangong swallowed his saliva when he saw this. He was not an angel who was good at fighting, otherwise he would not have succumbed to Binghua's force so easily. The captain of the Tiangong stretched out his hands and a projection screen appeared in front of him. Various angelic words flashed on it, and then appeared around the captain of the Tiangong like transformed entities. Binghua's dark eyes narrowed when she saw this, and she added a sentence at the right time. Don't try to fool me. For the time being, I still have a certain understanding of the structure and system of the celestial battleship. If you don't close the firewall of the dark plane, let's say goodbye forever. As he spoke, a faint red glow appeared on the 7 Kills Master Sword Tianming in Binghua's hand. The flame bombardment was ready, like a beast hiding in the sword that could not wait to taste the blood of its prey. Growled excitedly. After all, Binghua's flame bombing failed, and the captain of the Tiangong was more obedient than expected. While Hexi took over the various functional facilities of the Tiangong, Binghua was not idle either. He began to use the shipboard monitoring system on the Tiangong to observe the situation on the Nuhe battlefield and the male angel's defense layout. Binghua's pupils shrank when she accidentally discovered Kesha's troops surrounded by male angels several times the size of her own. At the same time, the various restrictions and blockades displayed in that area also made Binghua shrink. Binghua, I have successfully taken over all functions of the Tiangong. Huaya is now about 2 star systems away from you in a straight line, but before that, you have to find a way to deal with the soldiers under Huaya who are currently surrounding the Xiang Tiangong. He 11 brought out the scene outside the Tiangong for Binghua to watch, and saw densely packed warships surrounding the Tiangong from all directions, with the number at least 100. However, Binghua just glanced at it and then focused his attention on the map that Hexi called up. It showed the distance between Huaye's location and his own location. There was another place that showed Kesha's location. The orientation. Binghua closed her eyes and fell into deep thought. She was facing a choice, whether to break through the male angels outside and continue to pursue Huaye, or to use the Tiangong to rescue Kesha. Hexi on the other side did not interfere at this moment. From the time he first met Binghua to witnessing her growth to the current Heavenly Sword King, Hexi knew very well that his Binghua, who was a close sister, had a true love in his heart. What did she care about? So she was confident and fully prepared. In fact, Binghua did not disappoint her sister. He 11 was not kept waiting for too long. Binghua made a decision in just a few seconds, opened her black eyes again and spoke calmly. Sister Hexi, I don't plan to continue chasing Huaye. The chance of success is very slim because the distance is too far. Now we should first rescue the Heavenly Blade King Kesha who is trapped in a tight siege. Hexi on the other side had a happy smile on his face and directly asked Binghua how to rescue Kesha. Use Tiangong to block all external communications from Huaye. Sister Hexi, you should be able to do this, right? It's not a problem. Tiangong is the symbol of the King of Angels. It is also a large dark information super base station. Not to mention blocking Huaye's external contact. Even if you want to see what he is doing now, I can adjust it for you. Come out. When Binghua heard this, a black line appeared on his forehead. He was talking about something serious. Where did Hexy take the topic, causing the original serious atmosphere to disappear at this moment? I don't want to see what that scumbag Huaya is doing. It's just for fun. I'm warning you, Sister Hexy, if you bring up that disgusting scene, I'll go back and fight you again. He 11 on the other side was a little speechless. He meant that he could monitor Huaye's current behavior. Where did Binghua go? But now is not the time to talk about this. Kesha is still under siege, so Hexy coughs in a pretentious manner and chooses to directly drop the topic. Binghua, what are you going to do next? There are not many opportunities for an angel king to serve you. Sister, I am your subordinate now. If you have any orders, just give them. There is another sentence, as long as Keisha can be saved, he 11 only said it in his heart. The reason why he 11 obeyed Binghua's orders was because he 11 believed in Binghua's ability. When it comes to scientific research and knowledge understanding, Hexy thinks he is a few steps ahead of Binghua, but when it comes to battles and war strategies, Hexy thinks he will be hung up and beaten by Binghua and Kesha. Sister Hexy, what we have to do next is very simple. Send Huaye's Wang order from the Tiangong. The content of the Wang order is as follows. The Tiangong was attacked and is now evacuating the Nuhe galaxy. The defensive angel legions immediately broke away from the entanglement with the female angels. They dispersed and retreated in units of legions to retain their effective forces and reorganized the defense line outside the Nuhe galaxy. Is this possible for Binghua? He 11 thought this was a bit whimsical. Sister Hexy, believe me, the effect of this order is definitely stronger than imagined. But before issuing this order as Huaye, remember to cut off all their contacts with the top management of Huaye Group. Also, don't issue such a royal order to the male angel legions and imperial guards surrounding Kesha. Just block their contact with the male angels in other areas. Otherwise, I think it is likely to be self-defeating. After Binghua finished speaking, he added that although Hui Group had made some outrageous moves, Binghua had never felt that Hui's subordinates were all idiots. In order not to alert others, Binghua told Hexy not to interfere there first. By the way, let our fleet and warriors also retreat back. Don't make your intention to break away from the battle too obvious. Then be prepared to travel through the space wormhole. The location will be where Kesha is now. But Binghua, Kesha's current position has been space blocked and disrupted by the Tiangong flagship, and the Tianren is unable to position and jump at all. Binghua sighed, feeling that Hexy hadn't realized what huge advantage he had now. Sister Hexy, since the Heavenly Blade can't be used, can't we just use Huaye's Heavenly Palace flagship for positioning? He 11 also realized that he had asked a stupid question. He was too embarrassed to ask anything else and went to carry out Binghua's instructions. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 204. In the Adalo star system, Huaye's newly formed Angel Legion, under the command of the former Tianye King Herglass, surrendered to the defense line of General Mabus. When Mabus received the royal order from Huaye, his first feeling was doubt. The Tiangong was located in the hinterland of the army, how could it be attacked so easily? But it's just a matter of doubt. As a demoted general, Mobs has successfully retained his position as commander of the army and the soldiers under his command, but he is still a character in the Hui group who is neither loved by his father nor his mother, and has been marginalized. Needless to say, if there was a tough battle over the female angels, his legion would definitely be the first to fight. A few months ago, his legion was included in the attack on the Sky Sword Legion following the Rising Sunday. Originally, he was very resistant to this action. As a subordinate of King Tianyi Haglas, he and his legion have not yet escaped the shadow of the Mansar galaxy being chased by the legion of King Tianyi. Now, at the request of his new master Huaye, he is going to seduce the heavenly sword legion that once pinned him down in the universe. Naturally, he feels 100 reluctances in his heart. But in the end, Mobs led his men on the journey to attack the heavenly sword legion. Of course, he scolded Hwaya in his heart while laughing and crying as he embarked on the journey. The attack on the heavenly sword legion went smoothly, and good results were obtained by relying on the tactics of defeating them one by one. However, when the figure who killed the king they were loyal to last appeared on the battlefield, the situation was instantly reversed. The female warriors of the Heavenly Sword Legion became as fierce and unafraid of death as if they were crazy, shouting the name of the queen, exchanging injuries for injuries, fighting for their lives, and instantly knocked back Mobus, who had just gained a little confidence, back to his original form. Was once again pressed and rubbed in the universe by the Heavenly Sword Legion. After the war, Mobus counted his subordinates and found that he had reduced his number by 1/5. And this was not the end. After that, Hui Group and Female Angel launched a long tug of war using countless star systems in the Nuhe galaxy as their positions. As a defensive force on one of the fronts, Mobus was suffering from the attacks of the Female Angels every day. The soldiers under his command had long been complaining, tired of endless wars one after another. So when Mobus received the order from Hwaya to retreat, he retreated very simply, not even leaving the resources left in the Adalo star system. Looking for the interstellar refugees fleeing for their lives. Mobus's behavior stunned Hichui, who had just received the order from King Tianji and was still worrying about how to act out the chase scene. It's good now, there is no need to act in the play, because one of the leading actors has already disappeared, and no one can catch up with him. Mobus's escape opened the door for other legion commanders who had received orders from King Hwaya but were still in a wait-and-see attitude. Sometimes the power of role models is infinite. In addition, the male angels have been unable to contact the Tiangong No, which undoubtedly confirms the fact that the Tiangong No was attacked by the female angels and had no time to take care of itself. Therefore, the male angel front that had remained stable suddenly collapsed inexplicably. The first ones to retreat and flee were the former Herglass subordinates who had long been tired of the war and surrendered to Hwaya. They had no loyalty to Hwaya, so they naturally carried out the order to retreat happily. As for those direct descendants of Hwaya, due to the retreat of these legions, the defense line has become riddled with holes. They must retreat if they don't, otherwise they will be surrounded by female angels, and the entire legion will be at risk of being annihilated. The orders received by the female angels were to pretend to pursue, and then be on standby to support Kesha on the battlefield. But on the Tiangong, Binghua, who was sitting on a throne made of metal debris and decorated with the corpses of male angel guards around him, saw this scene and immediately changed part of his original plan. What was originally a false pursuit turned into a real pursuit, and the order to support Kesha remained unchanged. For a time, a scene was staged in the Nuhe galaxy that made all the angels laugh and cry. The various male angel legions dispersed and retreated to the outskirts of the Nuhe galaxy, while the female angels frantically pursued behind them. In the end, the retreat of the male angels turned into a rout. After doing all the above, Binghua finally turned his attention to the battlefield where Kesha was and issued the above instructions. In fact, it didn't take long. During this period, Binghua was also thinking about how to use the Tiangong to rescue Kesha, but no matter how he thought about it, Binghua could only come to one conclusion, and that was to have a head-on confrontation to defeat the male angel guards and soldiers surrounding Kesha. Dust Star Department. Sister Hexi fabricated a false message, used the Tiangong's internal circuit to release a wide-area dark message to Kesha's area, and at the same time lifted the space blockade in that area. The false information said that Hwaya had abandoned them, the defense line had completely collapsed, and they had become a lone army. At the same time, the retreat routes of each legion that the male angels used to evacuate the defense line were made public. He 11 was listening intently, and when he saw Binghua suddenly stop speaking, he subconsciously asked, "Anything else?" Sister Hexie, what else is there? The next step is to let the support troops rescue Kesha, and then take advantage of Huaye's army's morale to waver and win the battle. As Binghua spoke, an ethereal aura emitted, frightening the male angels still in Cambridge to the point of trembling. Queen, more than 70% of the sisters have been killed in the battle. If there were no reinforcements, we would have perished here today. One of the guarding angels cut off the male angel who rushed towards him with a sword, and spoke without looking back. Kesha's appearance at this moment was no longer as calm as before, her armor was stained with blood, and the sword in her hand was also stained with the lives of many male angels. The silver blades that were originally distributed in a radius of 200 meters were now reduced to within 20 meters, and the number carried at the same time dropped sharply to 15. Sisters, don't give up. As long as I, Skyblade King Kesha, am still here, we haven't lost yet. Reinforcements are coming soon. As long as we persist for a while, we can survive. Kesha's last words were not so confident, because it was not the first time she said these words, but there were fewer and fewer female angels present. At this moment, even Kesha couldn't help but have the idea that she was about to stop here. She didn't have any fear, just a little regret and unwillingness. Chen Xing, who had been paying attention to Kesha's battle situation from a distance, couldn't help but feel happy when he saw Kesha's wavering, because after sacrificing the lives of thousands of male angels, the king of female angels finally showed signs of fatigue. It means that killing her is not far away. But at this moment, an announcement resounded throughout the battlefield, ruthlessly extinguishing the joy that Chen Xing had just risen, and directly sending him into hell. All compatriots who are still fighting against the female angels at this moment. I am the captain of the Tiangong. Our king ruthlessly abandoned us and made us become chess pieces. Now we are the only lone army in the Nuhe system still fighting, and the other legions have already withdrawn from Nuhe. Now the Tiangong is about to fall into the hands of the female angel. In order to prevent everyone from being deceived any longer, I must tell all the compatriots who are still kept in the dark the truth before I fall. This message was full of logical loopholes and could not completely convince the male angels on the battlefield. However, the blow to morale was inevitable. What made the male angels on the battlefield feel even more chilled was the space-jumping wormholes that gradually appeared on the edge of and in the battlefield. I saw a flash of transparent blue energy representing space, and a huge ship suddenly lined up on the battlefield. However, its majestic appearance and white gold sacred aura undoubtedly announced its identity to the male angels present, the Skyblade battleship. The commander of the 2nd Legion of the Skyblade arrived with Skyblade No. 05. The sword pointed by Queen Keisha is the enemy of the Skyblade. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 205. As the first Skyblade warship suddenly jumped into the middle of the battlefield, relying on its huge hull and mass to crush almost hundreds of male angels who could not dodge, the situation on the battlefield began to develop in a direction that Chen Xing could not have expected. Blue space fluctuations flashed, and another Skyblade jumped over, and its position coincided with the Tiangong flagship. Just hearing the dull roar that shook the starry sky, the lower half of the ship's hull, like a sword, penetrated into the hull of the Tiangong flagship. For a moment, fire exploded and smoke billowed. The fatigue on Kesha's face was wiped away at this moment. Seeing more and more Skyblade Legion battleships jumping on the battlefield, Kesha let out the loudest roar in history. Soldiers of the Skyblade Legion. Reinforcements have arrived. Now it's our turn to counterattack. Follow me to defeat Huaye's army. Kesha raised her hand with force and pointed the royal sword in the direction of the Imperial Guards and ordinary male angels who were making a mess in the distance. Queen Kesha has an order to defeat the Huaye army. For a time, countless ordinary soldiers of the Skyblade Legion heard orders from their squad leaders or superiors at the same time. The subsequent battle was not as Binghua expected, it was a one-sided massacre. The male angel's sense of struggle was shaken by the message sent by Binghua using the Tiangong. In addition, the female angel suddenly poured into the battlefield with a large number of reinforcements, and the Apocalypse King Liangbing arrived later. This completely tipped the balance of victory towards Kesha. Binghua on Tiangong's side also experienced a battle without too many twists and turns. The moment the space blockade was lifted, Angel Ran led the support of the Heavenly Sword Legion. A battle group composed of 3 heavenly blades arrived around Tiangong, defeated the fleet of male angels surrounding the Tiangong. After that, Binghua and Kesha were not complacent about their great victory. Both women knew that although they had successfully annihilated tens of thousands of Huaye's elites, the remaining million male angels were still a huge threat. So Binghua, Kesha, Liangbing, and the 4 legions under He 11 organized a huge pursuit battle to hunt down the male angel legions who were retreating to the outskirts of the Nuhe galaxy. For a time, the flames of war were ignited everywhere in the Nuhe galaxy, and it was as unstoppable as a prairie fire. The male angels were surrounded and eliminated by the female angels in an organized manner. The male angel army leaders, who felt extremely desperate about this situation, had no choice but to disperse and break out. In the end, less than half of the male angels of the huge Hui group successfully withdrew from the Nuhe galaxy. As the remnants of the male angels gradually withdrew from the Raging Sea, the galaxy where most of their colleagues were buried, the Battle of the Raging Sea came to an end. The total number of casualties on both sides exceeded 2 million, and it lasted nearly 2 years. It will be recorded in the history of angel civilization as an epic war. It ended with the main force of Hui group being defeated by the female angel group represented by Kesha. Full stop. After the defeat in the Nuhe War, Huaya led thousands of remnants to flee towards his base camp, Tiancheng in the Angel Galaxy. This time Huaya lost without words. He was not stupid. He deeply realized some of his shortcomings, which were that he was too timid, too afraid of death, unwilling to take too big risks, and thought of everything too simply. It wasn't until afterwards that Huaya realized that Binghua's attack on the Tiangong was indeed targeting him, but at the same time, the Tiangong was also among her targets. If they succeed in killing themselves, the King of Angels, Hui group will naturally collapse directly, and the army that has lost its cohesion will naturally not be Kesha's opponent. If the plan to assassinate him fails, Binghua's target will instead be on the Tiangong, and the result will be what it looks like today. Disrupt communications, issue royal orders, and lift various restrictions and blockades, causing gaps in the army's defense line to change, allowing the female angel to take the opportunity to expand the results. In the end, it became a trend that even the remaining legion commanders who were awake could not turn the tide, thus prompting the collapse of the entire defense line. Huaye's tone became more serious as he spoke, and finally he raised his fist and punched a deep punch mark on the armrest of the metal seat. Binghua, Kesha. I have remembered your tricks, and I will never give you such an opportunity next time. Huaye said this last sentence through gritted teeth, making the male angels below feel the atmosphere was extremely depressing. Just when Huaye led the thousands of defeated troops that he had finally gathered and rushed back towards Tiancheng, trying to regain his strength for a counterattack. Binghua, who was far away in the Nuhe galaxy, stepped into the Heavenly Blade King's court where Kesha was. Kesha, who was sitting on the throne listening to her left-wing guard report on various post-war matters, heard the guardian angel report that the Heavenly Sword King had come to visit, and immediately raised her hand to signal the left-wing guard Alan below to stop reporting. Alan, stop reporting for now. After speaking, Kesha stood up from the throne with a smile on her face and faced Binghua, who was walking into the royal hall. Binghua, why do you have time to drive to my place? King Tianblade, I came to you to discuss an important matter. Compared to Kesha's obviously affectionate title, Binghua is undoubtedly much more formal, but this is Binghua's style of doing things. It's okay to play around and joke in private, but when it comes to talking about serious matters, Binghua will never joke. When Kesha heard Binghua calling herself Heavenly Blade King, she knew that Binghua must have something important to do with her, so her expression became serious. Binghua, let's go inside and talk. After speaking, Kesha stretched out her hand and motioned for Binghua to enter the royal hall with her. Climbing onto the high platform of the Sky Blade throne, Kesha raised her hand to start the micro-wormhole material transfer, and 2 white cushioned seats were carried out. Binghua and Kesha each chose the nearest one and sat down. As for their respective left-wing guards, they all stood behind their queen. Kesha, I came to you this time to invite you to attack Tiancheng together. Before Huaye returns to Tiancheng, we can capture Tiancheng in one fell swoop and completely end the so-called order in Tiangong. When Kesha heard this, there was a trace of doubt on her face, because Tiancheng was not that easy to break, but Binghua seemed very relaxed when she spoke, as if Tiancheng was already in her possession, so Kesha directly asked. Binghua, from what you say, do you have a way to break through Tiancheng's defense system? If so, it's worth a try for us. Binghua nodded and waved his palm, and a giant blue projection appeared in the void in front of him. When Kesha saw clearly what Binghua was projecting, her pupils suddenly tightened and she couldn't help but speak in shock. Hepolius. The corners of Binghua's mouth slightly raised, obviously satisfied with Kesha's surprise, because Hexi had the same expression when she learned that Hepolius was under her control. Long before the conflict with Tianye King Herglass, I sent angels to hide the destroyed skeleton of Herpolius, and sent my right-wing guard Angel Lan to preside over the repair work of Herpolius. Keisha suddenly realized that no wonder she hadn't seen Binghua's right-wing guard appear. It turned out that she had been secretly repairing the celestial project of Herpolius. Originally, Hepolius and I planned to use the threat to Tiancheng as a trump card to force Huaye to retreat when he failed in the Battle of the Raging Sea. But now that we have defeated Huaye's main force, I think it's time for Hepolius to play its original role. Because there are people at home today, eating and drinking until after 10 o'clock, so there is only one update. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 206. Herpolius is the name of the god of destruction in ancient angel mythology, and the celestial engineering projects ordered in the name of God are naturally not ordinary things. More than 10 years ago now, when the foreign king's coalition forces had not yet fallen apart, in order to break through the defense system of Tiancheng, a celestial fortress, it took several years to build an ultra-long-range energy strike weapon system called Hepolia. Sri Lanka. However, in the ensuing war, Herpolius was attacked by Huaye's army and was destroyed. As a result, the foreign king's coalition forces were eventually destroyed and failed to enter the celestial city. When Huaye and the foreign king coalition were fighting for the decisive battle, Binghua sent his angels to hide the huge wreckage of Herpolius, and used dark information shielding and virtual projection technology to leave a false illusion in its place. Afterwards, wars broke out frequently in the angelic civilization, and the allied army of alien kings, which had no hope of capturing the celestial city, collapsed, and the male angel kings who formed the alliance chose to go their separate ways. Huaye blocked the angel galaxy and slowly recovered its strength. As a result, no force noticed that Herpolius, a destroyed celestial project, was gradually reviving in the dark. At this moment, the Huaye group suffered a defeat in the Nuhe galaxy. The male angels who retreated outside the Nuhe galaxy were scattered in various star fields around the Nuhe galaxy. This was when Tianquan's defense was at its weakest. In the galaxy where Herpolius is located, countless pieces of space junk and metal debris that were originally floating in the universe suddenly slowly disappeared in the blue light, as if someone had wiped them away with an eraser. After the appearance that deceived the outside world was eliminated, what was revealed was an inner metal black cylinder creation that was hundreds of kilometers long and nearly 10 kilometers in diameter, with an umbrella-shaped frame behind it and an uneven surface. Some large damaged holes can also be seen on its surface, and unknown metal lines are vaguely visible inside. This is Hippolyus. After Binghua's right-wing escort Angel Lan led many scientific research angels and countless engineering robots to repair it, Hippolyus restored its most basic operating functions. Although I haven't had time to repair the shell yet, it is enough for attack. Sisters, we have been waiting here for several years, working day and night to repair this big thing under our feet. Now the Queen finally remembered our power. Angel Lan stood high in the hall of Hippolyus's internal command room, sharing her excitement with the dozens of female angels gathered below. You must know that for the repair work of Hippolyus, Angel Lan missed the Battle of the Raging Sea. The other right-wing guards of the Angel Queen were present, but she was not present. This is a regret that Angel Lan can never make up for. But not long ago, the Queen contacted her and asked to activate Hippolyus, targeting the celestial city located in the Angel Galaxy. This made Angel Lan, who thought she had been forgotten by the Queen, extremely happy, so now she couldn't wait to share this exciting news with her other sisters who were still on Hippolyus. The subsequent actions were very simple. Under the organization of Angel Lan, the female angels on Hippolyus quickly completed the inspection of the big guy at their feet. On the other side, a huge Skyblade fleet has set off from the Nuhe galaxy, aiming directly at Tiancheng. In this attack on Tiancheng, Binghua persuaded the other 3 angel queens to participate. Now the 4 angel queens have led their hundreds of thousands of elites and 20 Skyblades to the outer reaches of the angel galaxy through ultra-long-range space jumps, waiting for Herboreus violently destroys Amagi's defense and counter-attack capabilities. As long as the defensive barrier of the celestial city is broken, the female angel will complete the feat that the coalition forces were unable to accomplish, step into the celestial city, and destroy the order of the celestial palace. Binghua, Kesha, Hexi, and Liangbing were all sitting in the Legion meeting hall of a Skyblade, waiting for Binghua's right-wing guard to activate Hippolyus. Are you ready, Lan? If you are ready, activate Hippolyus immediately and increase the output power to the maximum until it penetrates the defense system of Tiancheng. On the other side, Angel Lan of Hippolyus nodded. Queen, Hippolyus will be activated in 10 seconds. It is expected that it will take some time for the attack to reach the designated location. I understand, Lan, now you should be busy with your side. I will wait for the light to guide me in the direction of the angel galaxy. After saying that, Binghua temporarily cut off the contact with Angel Lan, and Angel Lan on the other side immediately gave the order. Start Hippolyus and adjust the power to the maximum safe range. Hippolyus, which was originally like a dead thing, seemed to suddenly come to life, and its huge umbrella-shaped skeleton began to unfold a second time towards the star, becoming even larger. Start extracting stellar energy. The extraction speed has been adjusted to the maximum. The light emitted by the star suddenly dimmed, like a light suddenly extinguished. As Hippolyus began to frantically extract the radiation energy emitted by the stars, for a while the stars in this star system seemed to have exhausted their energy and extinguished in advance. At this moment, the only thing still shining in this star system is the huge umbrella-shaped skeleton of Hippolyus. The orange-red light-like liquid flows on the skeleton and pours into the long column in front of Hippolyus, and gradually lights up the thick energy circuit above. It took dozens of minutes for the energy circuit on Hippolyus to fully light up and begin to accumulate energy in preparation for the final launch. At that time, this weapon, which was born to defeat the celestial fortress, will show its ferocity to all angels. After seeing that the peak energy accumulated by Hippolyus shown in the projection was almost beyond the safe range, Angel Lan finally gave the launch order. The layered muzzle at the front of Hippolyus, which was stacked like teeth and had long become extremely dazzling, suddenly became dozens of times brighter, and then an orange-red light beam with a diameter of several kilometers broke through the space and headed towards the pitch black, shooting away from the depths of the universe. At this moment, even the angelic inhabitants or the stargazing equipment of affiliated civilizations who are several galaxies away can see this thin orange-red line across the starry sky. Not to mention Huaya and the garrison on Tiancheng who are rushing towards Tiancheng, as well as the Angel Academy of Sciences reorganized in Tiancheng. We have discovered a high-intensity cross-galaxy star-killing strike, targeting Tiancheng. Now activate the defense system and activate the space offset shield. A huge transparent shield that enveloped the entire celestial city immediately appeared. For a while, the angels living in the celestial city did not understand what was happening. At this moment, the defenders of Tiancheng were running around anxiously. King Huaya could not be contacted, and the other male angel commanders who could be contacted were now unable to protect themselves. At this critical moment, Tianchen's detection department discovered an unknown cross-system attack. In desperation, the defense officer could only order to activate Tianchen's absolute defense and space deflection shield. This shield technology is the most cutting-edge technology of the angel civilization today. Because of its huge energy consumption, it has not been able to be miniaturized and used on celestial battleships. Its effect is to deflect part of the attack energy to other positions of the shield, reducing the risk of energy shield penetration. It can be said that any energy attack that reaches a certain level of instantaneous power is tickling this shield. What's going on? Tianchen's shield was suddenly opened. Remember, the last time the shield was opened was when the coalition attacked. Yes, but there haven't been any hostile civilization forces around Tiancheng recently. Angels on the streets in Tiancheng looked at the suddenly raised transparent space deflection shield and discussed with each other in confusion. But suddenly the sea of clouds and sky projected around Tiancheng seemed to be on fire, turning orange-red. A scorching orange star suddenly appeared through the simulated sky and sea of clouds in the eyes of the residents of Tiancheng who were looking up above their heads. The next moment, an extremely dazzling light burst out, and the entire Tiancheng side close to the burst of light was shrouded in it. For a moment, they could not see normally without angel eyes, and at the same time, the light falling on their bodies made them feel extremely hot, and they quickly looked for corners to avoid the scorching light. A dull and loud roar was also heard from the celestial city, and the violent vibrations and shaking made the angel residents who were in the celestial city feel a bit of fear. This movement was countless times louder than when the coalition forces attacked Tiancheng. What happened? This unknown fear is gradually eroding the hearts of the angels. If you observe it from the distant space at this moment, you can see an orange-red light beam shooting from the depths of the universe and heavily bombarding the space deflection shield of Tiancheng. The energy aftermath of its lasing and diffusion formed an orange ring of fire with a diameter of thousands of kilometers in the universe, and the target city of Tiancheng was gradually pushed out of its original orbit by Hepolia's attack. At the same time, what made the Tiancheng garrison despair was that the space deflection shield could not completely deflect this continuous attack. Tiny gaps appeared in the space deflection shield, and strands of energy that were insignificant compared to Hepolia's attack passed through the shield and fell into the celestial city. Just listen to a roar and explosion. Fire clouds tens of meters high rose, and a 100-meter-high silver-gray building made a creaking sound of metal twisting and tilted slightly to one side. Binghua, who had been paying attention to Tiancheng, saw that Tiancheng was almost unable to withstand Hepolia's attack, and immediately contacted Angel Lan to indicate that the attack could be stopped. Binghua's goal is not to destroy Tiancheng, but to paralyze its defense system. Although the celestial city could be directly destroyed if the attack continued, the millions of angels above would also fall to Hepolia's attack because of Binghua's order. Binghua can destroy a planet for strategic goals, but he cannot remain indifferent while watching millions of angels of his own race disappear in the flames. But now Amagi's shield is on the verge of collapse, and Amagi's defense and counter-attack capabilities are at their lowest point in history. In addition, He-11 had already cracked the space blockade and wormhole jumping countermeasures near Tiancheng. Now is the time to attack. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 207. The moment Hippolyus's beam of light from the depths of the universe and across the starry sky dissipated, the clenched hearts of the frightened angels in the celestial city finally relaxed a little. But in the short period of time before the breach in the space deflection shield was repaired, Tianquan's detection department suddenly discovered multiple unknown signs of wormhole jumping. A pitch-black wormhole suddenly appeared in the starry sky outside Tianquan, spitting out blue energy lightning like a vortex. The next moment, only bunches of blue light were seen flying out from it. They were actually the energy shadows of Skyblade battleships. But the next moment, these energy shadows shattered to reveal the majestic and sacred Skyblade battleships inside. Body. The transparent shield outside the celestial city was rapidly squirming, quickly filling the gap previously blasted by Hippolyus, but the next moment it was bombarded by intensive firepower from the Skyblade battle group. For a time, countless energy rays like light spears shot out from the jumping Skyblade battle group and hit the time and space deflection shield. Due to the blow, Tianquan's time-space deflection shield was significantly slower in restoring the gap. At this time, the three Skyblades took the opportunity to rush towards the gap in Tianquan's shield at maximum speed. The next moment, something happened that stunned the Tianquan garrison. The lower hull of the Tianren battleship, which was like a sharp sword, fell straight towards the shield gap and penetrated through the shield gap like a real sharp sword. And enter. Under the extremely terrifying mass pressure of the Skyblade battleship, the edge of the breach in the space-time deflection shield actually dented a little inward. Then dense firelight flashed out, and the energy of the space-time deflection shield began to corrode Tianren's hull, shooting out extremely dense sparks. It can be seen that the energy intensity of the space-time deflection shield cannot erode the armor of the Skyblade for a while. At this time, the advantage of using the Skyblade to support the gap in the Tianquan shield is revealed. Now that the perfect shield that can hinder space penetration and strikes has a gap, in the eyes of capable angels, this has great consequences. Maneuverable space. Binghua's crazy plan is quite effective. Next, I will show you the power of Liang Bing, the Apocalypse King. The Skyblade battleships of the Apocalypse Legion will assist me in calculating the spatial coordinates in Tianquan. Then we will send one of the big Skyblades in, so that the scumbags in Tianquan will know what it means to have the Skyblade coming. Angel Ran carried the King's Sword and was followed by a large group of female angels from inside the Skyblade to the combat platform at the center of the Skyblade. Feeling the trembling of the battleship under your feet and the creaking sound of the shield squeezing the hull, coupled with the dense sparks shooting out, this series of scenery turned out to be a unique beauty. This Skyblade, which penetrates the Tianquan shield like a sharp sword, is Angel Ran's vehicle. As the left-wing guard of Tianjian King, it is natural that Ran will take the lead in this Tianquan siege led by Binghua. Soldiers of the Heavenly Sword Legion. Break into the interior of the Celestial City, destroy the energy supply facilities above, and welcome the Queen's arrival. Angel Ran raised her sword and pointed at Tianquan below and shouted loudly. As her words fell, there was a sound of agreement. Welcome the Queen. Welcome the Queen. Angel Ran looked at all this with satisfaction, then spread his wings and fell down to Tianquan below. When the other female angels saw this, they also made the same move, just like cannonballs fired by the Skyblade, falling towards the city in the Sky City. When the male angels who had gathered in the city below saw this, the defense officer leading the team shouted. For the Celestial City, for the glory of King Huayet. Stop the female angel from destroying the Celestial City. Just listening to the rising and falling sounds of the wings of angels, the male angels holding spears and swords rose up from the ground and flew high into the sky to attack the falling female angels. Come on, you scumbags. The Heavenly Sword Legion is invincible. Angel Ran shouted, and at the same time, circles of dark energy lightning appeared on the flaming sword in his hand, surrounding the sword body, and he slashed sharply from top to bottom to meet the charging male angel. The next second, Angel ran past by the male angel who came to stop him, leaving a long blue sword light in the air behind him that made the air scorch. And the male angel who wanted to resist the flames had already suffered a horrific wound that almost split him in half, and fell down as weakly as a bird with broken wings. At least tens of thousands of male and female angels faced each other in the air, mercilessly waving their weapons at each other at the moment when the warriors from both sides met. The next moment the two sides separated and exchanged positions, and in the space where the two sides had met a moment ago, the corpses of countless male and female angels fell like raindrops, with the majority of them being male angels. Because the female angel moves from top to bottom, and the speed increases her own strength, it is obvious that the female angel takes advantage. The female angel who switched places with the male angel had no intention of going back and trying it again with the male angel. She spread out in all directions and destroyed the shield energy supply and maintenance facilities on the celestial city according to the preset tactical goals. For a time, the male angels could only chase and suppress the scattered female angels. The flying ability of the angels allowed them to freely shuttle between high-rise buildings and the sky. This makes the defensive work of male angels extremely difficult. This is the huge advantage of angel civilization when fighting other civilizations. The combat range of each angel includes the ground, the sky, and complex cities, which causes a headache for some civilizations that are hostile to the angel civilization but do not have the ability to flexibly fly and fight. Angel Ran fluttered his wings and walked through the tall buildings in Tiancheng at high speed, with several male angels chasing after him. Ran quickly took a look at the complex surroundings, and suddenly turned sharply into a narrow passage between two tall buildings. As soon as he entered the passage, Angel Ran immediately turned around and faced behind him and began to slow down crazily. At the same time, he raised the flaming sword, and blue thunder surged on the sword. The next moment, the male angel following closely behind also turned into the passage, but what greeted him was a flaming sword surrounded by blue thunder. A sword pierced the chest of the male angel in front of him. Ran quickly extended his legs and kicked the male angel hanging on the sword away. Then he continued to swing the sword forward continuously. The male angel who rushed into the passage immediately after saw the flaming sword waving towards them in Ran's hand. He was heartbroken and wanted to dodge, but he rushed too fast and couldn't stop his body. In addition, Ran was also facing them head-on. For some reason, he finally failed to avoid the deadly sword peak. The flaming sword broke through his armor and slashed him in half. He screamed and fell to the ground 100 meters below. The battle in the sky did not affect the angel residents below who were avoiding the aftermath of the battle. It would have been better if there were not the corpses of male and female angels that occasionally fell from above. However, the good luck of these long comfortable angel residents will end here, because the previous ones were just appetizers, and the real highlight is about to take place. Over Tiancheng City, in the area below the space-time deflection shield, a huge space wormhole suddenly opened, and a sky-blade battleship fell from it, like a sky-cutting giant blade falling from the sky. With a rumble, the ground in Tiancheng shook violently, followed by the sound of buildings collapsing one after another. The sword-like hull of the sky blade pierced the ground of Tiancheng, creating a huge gap of nearly a kilometer. The huge wings spread out on both sides slid forward as the sky blade slid forward, crushing the tall buildings within several kilometers along the way. Crushed into ruins. As for the residents of Tiancheng in this area, they are probably in bad luck, but no angel cares about them now, because in a life-and-death war, this is unavoidable. The metal boots flattened the gravel on the ground, and the silver cloak floated up and down behind him. His long black hair was spread on his shoulders. Binghua breathed in the air filled with dust and smoke, and opened his dark eyes to look at the ruins of Tiancheng in front of him. Said to himself with emotion, "I didn't expect that only a few decades later, I would be here again, the City of Angels. An update will be released tomorrow. The factory has stopped rectification due to fire protection issues. An update should be available in the next few days. Super Seminary Angel Binghua." Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 208. When the sky blade that Binghua was on was sent to Tiancheng by Liang Bing, who gathered the computing power of the Apocalypse Legion through the space deflection shield through the wormhole, the real war began. Without Binghua's orders, a dense number of angels rushed out from the magnificent battleship that penetrated the Tiancheng ground from behind her, numbering at least more than 50,000. Normally, thousands of angels flying in the air would give the angels a sense of overwhelming numbers. But when 50,000 female angel warriors rushed out of the heavenly blade in an orderly manner, it gave the defenders of the heavenly city an overwhelming feeling. The illusion was like a sea of white clouds crushing towards them from the sky. As the first echelon to attack Tiancheng, Binghua and his Tianjian Legion were responsible for breaking in and destroying Tianchen's energy supply and shield maintenance facilities. The subsequent Tianren, Tiankai, Tianji and other legions will serve as the second offensive echelon, completely clearing away the resistance in Tiancheng. In order to increase the success rate of the battle, Binghua, one of the most powerful female angels today, took the first-tier sky blade to the celestial city. A scorching red sword energy shot out and hit a male angel on a tall building nearby. There was an explosion and more than a dozen pieces of broken building debris fell downwards with black smoke. In less than 2 seconds during the explosion, the male and female angels in mid-air next to the building had already completed several confrontations. The flaming sword and the cross sword frequently clashed in the air, bursting out with bright sparks for a moment. At the same time, when the dark energy on the swords violently collided, the wisps of aftermath that escaped to the surroundings fell on the buildings on both sides, like bullets, leaving small craters. This is the battlefield where 3 generations of warriors clash. No angel is close within a few hundred meters, because the dark energy sputtered from both sides can injure ordinary angel warriors. Ordinary male and female angels in other areas are like fighter jets flying between the sky and buildings, engaging in various dazzling battles. Occasionally, the dark energy sword energy swung from the hands of the female angel falls on the surrounding buildings, causing huge damage. Binghua was suspended in mid-air, holding the 7-killing sword in his hand. His eyes looked around the dense buildings below, and finally locked in the direction of the magnificent royal city at the end. The next moment, the ice blossom turned into a stream of blue light, drawing a gorgeous trajectory in the sky and shooting towards the royal city. At the main entrance of the heavenly palace, in the sky are male and female angels circling and fighting, but below, at the entrance to the palace, there is another scene that looks like a meat grinder. The dense guards formed an absolute line of defense that could not be crossed. Relying on the sharp blades in their hands and strict discipline, they repelled the female angels who organized several attacks. Block the female angel, and the royal city must not be breached. A male angel wearing a powerful frosted silver armor raised a long-handled sword in his hand and shouted. The Imperial Guard soldiers gathered around him also let out a loud roar, and then took a step forward at the same time. The male angels at the front were wearing heavy armor, holding silver square thick shields with wings engraved in their hands, and the other hand was a different crossblade sword than usual. As for the male angels behind them, they all held 2-meter swords. What a long sharp war spear! At the same time, in the area above the heads of these male angels, a powerful force field that distorted the space told all the female angels present that the air had become a no-fly zone. For the Queen, sisters, follow me to break this line of defense. Angel Ran, who had been here a long time ago, organized a second charge. As the flaming sword she held high fell, she rushed out at the forefront. The female angels behind her also burst out loud shouts and followed the king. The left wing escorted away. Angel Ran's golden hair was spread out. She opened her lips and shouted fiercely. The flaming sword wrapped in thunder in her hand suddenly swung horizontally, and a sword energy that was several meters long and glowing with intense thunder flew out. Seeing this, some elite female angels behind him also used their own dark energy drive to wield sword energy, but their sword energy was much smaller than Ran's. Facing the long-range attack from the female angel who arrived first, the tall male angels holding shields in the first row stepped forward and raised their arms and shields. Boom! After the dull explosion, what emerged from the billowing smoke was an unharmed shield. Angel Ran gritted his teeth. Although he had known this result for a long time, he still felt a faint sense of powerlessness in his heart. However, this did not affect her sword-swinging movements at all. The flaming sword wrapped in circles of thunder was chopped down by her without hesitation. There was a harsh sound like metal scraping, and the male angel who was holding a shield for defense moved back because of the huge force on the angel's burning sword. This was even with his companions behind him helping to relieve the force, and a line appeared on the shield in his hand. Light sword marks. If things continue like this, it will only take a few swords for Angel Ran, a third-generation warrior, to defeat this male angel holding a shield. But the next moment, the war spear that had been raised behind fell down, resting on the shoulders and shield of the male angel holding the shield, and thrust forward fiercely. There were at least 10 spears on this side piercing Angel Ran, and their attack angles covered Angel Ran's head and legs. Angel Ran immediately retreated, but as the left-wing guard of the Heavenly Sword King, he naturally would not give up so simply. He swung the flaming sword across, and 2 sword energy surging with thunder flew out. Seeing an attack coming, the spear that had been put down instantly lifted up again. Seeing this, the companions on both sides of the repelled male shield-bearing angel moved their shields sideways with unusual tacit understanding to resist the sword energy swung by Ran. But before the smoke and dust dissipated, Angel Ran stepped forward again and struck his knee against the shield. The strength of the third-generation warrior that crushed the second-generation warrior directly knocked the male angel holding the shield to the ground. Ran, on the other hand, maintained a posture of half-kneeling on the shield and swung his sword forward. The flaming sword surrounded by thunder slashed through the thighs of several male angels in front, leaving a scorched black wound. By the time the other male angels reacted, Ran had already stood up again, and the forward thrust of the flaming sword in his hand penetrated the chest of a spear-wielding Imperial Guard. The left-wing guard has broken through the guard's defense line. Sisters, go immediately to expand the gap. Seeing this, the female angels who were attacking the guard's defense line and suffered heavy casualties immediately gathered towards Angel Ran's position. Because she couldn't fly, the female angel couldn't take advantage of her mobility, so she could only run. But naturally the male angel would not just watch the gap opened by Ran being widened again. The guard's garrison officer in charge of commanding this place immediately shouted an order. Block the gap and surround and kill the female angel's left guard. Angel Ran, who was trying to charge forward, suddenly found that the Imperial guards in front of him had taken the initiative to retreat. Ran, who felt something was wrong, looked back. At some point, the guard's defense line that had been torn open behind him was blocked by the male angels again, making it impossible for the soldiers under his command to rush in. The thing that made Ran feel most nervous at this moment was the dense number of spears and sharp blades aimed at him around him. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifen Si Wang. Chapter 209. As the left-wing guard of the Heavenly Sword King, Ran was naturally not stupid and knew that he might be in danger. However, Angel Ran, who had never received ground combat training, was unusually unaccustomed to such a restricted flying situation. If it weren't for the fact that the main control facilities of Tiancheng were inside the Tiangong Royal City, Angel Ran would not have led his army to give up his flying advantage to attack the Imperial Guard's defense line. The reason why the Angel civilization did not focus on developing individual heavy weapons or long-range firepower was because of the popularity of small shields and the improvement of basic metal smelting technology. After the emergence of a series of alloys with astonishing hardness and toughness such as red gold and Tia alloys, it was difficult for ordinary bullets and energy weapons to cause much damage to the angels wearing armor. Due to energy consumption and size problems, electromagnetic orbital weapons will become a burden for angels in close range and high-speed combat. Unless we give up our flexible air combat advantages and wear heavy power armor to continuously supply energy for powerful orbital weapons, we can't form an effective system just by relying on the dark energy conversion ability of the ordinary generation of angels. Combat ability. Of course, it is also possible to prepare energy supply magazines in advance, but during fierce battles, except for high-level angels, few angels can skillfully use micro-wormhole transportation technology. This allowed the battlefield at the gate of the Tiangong city to regain the brutality of the ancient battlefield. As angels, the two sides gave up their ability to fly and fought face to face on the ground. Facing the spears thrust from all sides, Angel Ran knelt down and lay back, then rolled quickly to avoid the spear points that were piercing her. The moment he dodged the attack, the angel lit up his flaming sword and slashed at the calf of the male angel in front. In an instant, several male angels groaned in pain as their legs were injured. Ran immediately stood up, raised his long legs, and kicked him. The male angel, who was bowing in pain, was kicked away and knocked down several angels behind him. Ran also gained precious space for movement, raised the flaming sword and poured all the dark energy converted during the battle into the sword body. The dazzling lightning spread like a spider web around Angel Ran as the center. For a moment, the guards angels in the area several meters around Angel Ran were shaking like a sieve. But at this moment, a long-handled red war blade broke through the lightning blockade around the fire and came through the air. Ran Qing, who was raising his sword, turned slightly in desperation. The blade flying towards him broke open the shoulder armor and stabbed into the shoulder with a pop. A faint trace of burning orange dark energy came out from Ran's back, and a suppressed sound came out. A muffled groan came from Ran's throat. As a warrior, Angel Ran did not freeze on the spot, and quickly stepped back. However, a force came from the blade that pierced the shoulder and knocked Ran away. With a clang, Ran fell backwards and fell to the ground. Because the lightning he fired before paralyzed many male angels, the female angels finally broke through the defense of the Imperial Guards. But before the female angels who broke into the guards' formation were happy, their respected left-wing guard Angel Ran fell in front of them, and even the sword of the fierce sun fell beside them with a clang. Ran endured the pain in his right shoulder and was about to get up when the female angel who arrived behind him quickly pulled Ran backwards. Hurry and cover the left-wing escort's retreat. Just as the female angels pulled the injured Ran back, a male angel whose armor was much more gorgeous than the surrounding guards and holding a long-handled sword rushed out from the guards who were separated on both sides. Cover! A female angel shouted, and the surrounding female angels immediately gathered together and raised their weapons to block Ran's body. However, there was only a trace of disdain on the male angel's face. He raised the war blade in his hand and easily knocked away a female angel. Then the blood-stained blade flipped back and swept away several more female angels. But soon the male angel's expression changed slightly. The resilience of the female angel warriors exceeded his expectations. One female angel actually grabbed the blade that cut into her side and refused to let go, shouting for her companions to attack. In the end, until the female angel rescued Ran from the guard's defense, the male angel holding a war blade failed to break through the female angel's blockage and kill Ran, the prey that escaped from him. In the end, the female angel left the corpses of dozens of sisters and retreated outside the gate of the Tiangong royal city. Responsible for guarding the passage of the Tiangong royal city, the formation of the Imperial Guards, which was originally scattered due to the impact of the female angel, returned to order in an instant. For a while, the morale of the female angels was a little low, because the Imperial Guards in front of them had a defensive advantage and also deployed a forbidden air force field at the top of the passage. With the number of more than 300 female angels, they could not rush in. "Let me go, I'm fine." Ran let go of the female angels supporting her, stood up a little staggeringly and looked at the passage leading to the interior of the Tiangong Palace. Suddenly, a figure fell from the sky behind the female angels. With the blue arc flashing around her, the black-haired ice flower slowly fell to the ground. The queen is here. It's the queen. Great, the queen is here, it's time for those scum to die. After seeing Binghua, the female angels cheered up, and their morale, which had been a little low, began to pick up. Binghua looked at the disgraced female angels in front of him and said loudly, "As warriors of the Heavenly Sword Legion, this is not your style. You should be like an indestructible sword, crushing all enemies in front of you. Have you forgotten the slogan when the Heavenly Sword Legion was reorganized?" After Binghua finished speaking, the fanatical female angels who had always admired Binghua raised their arms and shouted, "The Heavenly Sword Legion is invincible and invincible in all battles. Every attack is invincible and every battle is invincible." Originally, there were only a few old warriors who had experienced the reorganization of the Heavenly Sword Legion, shouting fervently, but this emotion seemed to be contagious, and in the end, all the female heavens started shouting together. Binghua continued to walk forward, and the female angel in front spontaneously made way for him. However, Binghua did not launch an attack immediately, but came to the injured Ranshan. Ran's originally fair face became paler than usual, and there was a hole in the shoulder armor with a ferocious wound inside, dyeing the originally silver light armor red. When Binghua saw that Ran could still stand up, she felt relieved. She stretched out her hand to support Ran, who was still about to salute, and spoke with a hint of reproach. "Ran, you're already like this, why do you still insist on the so-called etiquette of superiors and inferiors? But it's better if nothing happens to you." "Queen, I'm sorry for making you worry." Ran Vinyan didn't persist. In the wound on her shoulder, the dark energy left by the male angel was still destroying her body. If she didn't take the time to eliminate it, it would have a considerable impact on her combat effectiveness. Seeing that Ran finally stopped insisting, Binghua's tense face softened slightly, and he motioned to a female angel around him to support Ran. Binghua turned around neatly and left a sentence. "I will avenge my dead sisters." You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 210. As Binghua walked out of the passage that the female angel gave way to, her right hand hanging by her side was slightly open and held in a virtual grip. The next moment, red lines appeared in the air, outlining the appearance of a heavy sword. In less than a second, within a short period of time, it solidified into the 7-killing king sword. Behind Binghua were a group of female angels who had regained their fighting spirit and exuded an inexplicable aura. Stabilize the formation. The defensive officer in charge, the male angel, knocked the ground with the tail handle of his war blade and shouted. When the distance was about the same, Binghua raised the king's sword, and a scorching red light emerged from the 7-kill sword. Seeing this, the male guardian angel screamed inwardly, and sure enough, the next moment, a scorching red light flooded his field of vision. Boom! A violent explosion occurred in the passage, and more than a dozen male angels holding shields were thrown backwards, unable to even hold the shields in their hands. The originally tight formation also suddenly had a gap. The guard's shield wall, which could withstand ordinary heavy fire bombardments, failed to block Binghua's flame bombardment. And this was not the end. In the billowing black smoke, a figure suddenly crossed over and fell into the royal guards. Binghua raised the king's sword, and the thunder that was several times stronger than angels' burn spread out, and its range actually covered a passage that was more than 10 meters wide. For a moment, thunder that was as thick as Binghua's forearm danced in the air, and the male angels in this thunder field were twitching their bodies crazily. Only the defensive officer holding a long-handled war blade could move forward with difficulty. Okay. Binghua's raised sword fell, and the surrounding thunder suddenly began to dissipate. The next moment, only crashing sounds were heard one after another, and the surrounding guards fell. Just as Binghua was about to move forward, he heard a loud roar and a male angel stabbed through the air with a war blade. The Ice Flower King's sword swung away the stabbing war blade, raised its whip leg and hit the handle of the war blade that the male angel used to block, knocking it back several meters. When the male angel removed the huge force from the weapon in his hand, what he saw was Binghua, whose body was slightly off the ground and thrust straight at him with his sword. With a pop, Binghua's king's sword pierced the chest of the male angel holding the war blade, but the disadvantage of Ansu Silver's weapon was that it had no special attack effect on super warriors. But Binghua, who had been using dark silver weapons for a long time, already had a way to make up for this. Before the male angel could counterattack, dazzling thunder appeared on the seven-killing king's sword. The male angel's body twitched instantly, blue lightning erupted all over his body, and even the weapon in his hand fell to the ground with a clang. After Binghua pulled out the Wang sword from his body, the charred male angel fell to his knees with a plop. Binghua stepped over the half-kneeling defender and continued forward. A wormhole opened in the void behind him, and two flaming swords shot out, piercing the defender's back and giving him a fatal blow. At this time, the female angels who attacked with Binghua also fought against the Imperial Guards who were disrupted by Binghua. Without the cooperation of their formations and companions, these male angels were so morale that they fought side by side with the Queen, just like the female angels who had turned on the madness and couldn't take advantage at all. After breaking through this most difficult level, the female angel's attack was undoubtedly much smoother. The female angel who rushed into the royal city launched an attack straight towards the Tiancheng energy supply facility inside. Binghua, on the other hand, was heading towards the angel court of the heavenly palace city step by step. She had a hunch that the chief of guard of the heavenly city might be there. As Binghua's troops rushed into the royal city, the space-time deflection shield that had been covering Tiancheng finally shattered. Seeing this opportunity, Kaisha raised her arms and announced an all-out attack, and for a moment the Sky-Blade warships all moved forward. The simulated sky above Tiancheng rolled violently, and the sharp hulls at the bottom of the Sky-Blades pierced the sky and descended. Seeing this scene, the residents of Tiancheng and the male angel warriors lost all resistance in their hearts. Even Huaye's direct line of Imperial Guards were hesitant to continue fighting. Because this is not a life-and-death racial war, and Potion is just a civil war between angel civilizations, or a war between male and female angels, it is not unacceptable to give up resistance. Passing through the tall door, stepping on the golden patterned floor and icy flowers under your feet, you walked into the royal court of the King of Angels. The empty main hall is full of golden carvings and decorations. It is twice as large as her heavenly sword royal court, making the place seem unusually spacious. Above the head is a dome with complex hollow carvings, and gorgeous lights cast a bright light downwards, making the hall look magnificent. However, Binghua saw a figure sitting on the throne at the end of the royal court hall at a glance. He has short grey hair on his temples, a strong face, and is wearing a lightweight metal full-body armor that fits perfectly. Even if he is sitting on the throne with his eyes closed, he will naturally give people a sense of oppression. When Binghua walked in, the old man finally opened his eyes. His gaze fell on Binghua without any hostility, but gave Binghua an extremely dangerous feeling, as if a weapon was pressed against his neck. Superior. You must be Binghua, the female angel's heavenly sword king. Although the words were questions, the old man used an affirmative tone. Yes, I am the heavenly sword king Binghua. Who are you and why are you sitting there? That is not a position that ordinary angels can sit in. The old man laughed dumbly, but it only lasted for a short time. He only heard his words in a nonchalant tone. I can take this position anytime I want. As for who I am, my name is Hua Lai, and I am Huaye's uncle, now the garrison chief of the city. Binghua frowned, she had never heard of Hua Lai's name. As if he knew Binghua's doubts, Hua Lai took the initiative to explain. It's normal that you haven't heard of my name. I am the younger brother of the previous king of angels, Huake, and I have always followed him as his bodyguard. After he was assassinated by the bastards of the beast body civilization, I left Tiancheng alone and only recently came back. Assassination? Didn't the last king of angels die in a battle on the battlefield? Hualai snorted when he heard Binghua's question. This is just a public announcement. A generation of angel kings who created a new history of angel civilization died of assassination. This is not a good reputation. Those bastards were no match for the angel civilized legion, so they could only use these little tricks, but they had already paid a heavy price. When Hualai said the price, the surrounding air became cold, and Binghua instantly understood what the so-called price was. After Hualai said the above words, he finally got to the point. I have lived as a guard and assassin for thousands of years. I can't lead an army, let alone govern the world. The only thing that makes me confident is this strength. I don't care who becomes the king of the angel civilization, but the first point is that the angel civilization must not be led by a weak person. In the past, Huaya was the only choice for the throne, but not anymore. Therefore, King of Heavenly Sword, if you want to become the king of the angelic civilization, it is not enough to have wisdom and vision. You must also have overwhelming strength in the face of those unscrupulous hostile civilizations. And I am the trial you must overcome to become the king of angels. If you fail, your end will be death. After speaking, Hualai raised his hand, and a long sword of astonishing length was carried out. The overall silver blade is engraved with unidentified characters, and its blade is a full length of 1.7 meters. Just standing on the ground, this long sword is taller than Binghua's height. This has gone beyond the scope of the heavy sword and should be called a super heavy sword. I originally wanted to update, but something delayed me, so there are only 3 updates, so you don't have to wait. Super Seminary Angel Binghua. Author, Shifeng Si Wang. Chapter 211. As the silver broad-blade super heavy sword appeared, Hualai also stood up from the throne. His tall and straight figure did not look like an assassin at all. Because the sword was a broad-blade super heavy sword with a blade length of 1.7 meters, and the handle was about the same height as Hualai. Whether you can become the king of angels or not is not up to you. Binghua replied and raised his king's sword to kill 7 times, but Hualai didn't care when he heard this. Then you have to wait until you survive to be qualified to say this, King of Heavenly Sword. After saying that, Hualai held the hilt of the sword with his right hand wearing a silver gauntlet, and jumped into the air. He raised the super heavy sword in his hand and made a downward slash. Although the move was simple, Hualai's speed was not slow. Binghua held the sword and moved quickly to the left to avoid the falling trajectory of the sword in Hualai's hand. He raised Kisha with a backhand swing. Boom! Hualai cut a dark crack in the floor, but there was only a crisp sound. At some point, Hualai had already raised the super heavy sword in his hand to block Binghua's slash. Binghua was about to draw his sword and attack again, but unexpectedly, the heavy sword in Hualai's hand guided the 7 kills king's sword to draw a semicircle in the air, rubbing against the sword of 7 kills and cutting towards Binghua's right hand holding the sword. Binghua's eyes narrowed, and he flipped his wrist. The wings-like sword grit of the 7 kills sword caught the blade cut in Hualai's hand, and then Binghua's wrist shook hard. Hearing a buzzing sound in the originally silent royal court hall, Binghua took a few steps back to distance herself from Hualai, and at the same time opened her left hand to the front. The micro wormhole opened, dozens of flaming swords shot out, and Hualai rushed towards Binghua and swung out several swords. After hearing a few harsh and crisp sounds, the flaming swords that were fired at Hualai were knocked out one after another, spinning and piercing into the floor and walls of the hall. Seeing this, Binghua continued to retreat. He held the hilt of the sword with both hands and dragged Kisha beside him. The burning orange flame covered the silver sword body, and then he made an upward slash. Hualai was not afraid at all, he directly raised the super heavy sword in his hand and slashed it down hard. Boom! Due to the huge force collision, a stream of air mixed with this dark energy swept out to the surroundings, and the decoration on the dome of the hall was blown to a loud roar. Binghua's 7-killing king sword successfully knocked back the sword in Hualai's hand, but Binghua did not show any joy because the sword was knocked back too easily. This is what's abnormal. Sure enough, the next moment Hualai's hand was knocked back and the sword used its strength to strike a sharp horizontal slash. A silver arc flashed across Binghua's chest, but Hualai frowned slightly, showing no sign of joy for hurting Binghua. You can hide pretty quickly, Heavenly Sword King. Hualai straightened his body and turned his gaze to the other Binghua, whose body was flashing with traces of blue electric arcs. The Binghua who had just been slashed by the super heavy sword in Hualai's hand was now slightly distorted and dissipated in the air. Binghua didn't reply. It would be better to say that her attention was focused on Hualai at the moment and she didn't dare to be distracted for a moment. For the first time in history, Binghua felt pressure in a close combat with an angel. Although the confrontation just now seemed extremely simple, it was just a simple attack by both sides with their swords. But both Binghua and Hualai are extremely fast and their movements are extremely agile. If it were an angel who was not good at close combat, blood would be splashed on the spot in 1 or 2 moves. Take Huaya as an example. If Huaya had just fought against Hualai, Hualai would have killed Huaya on the spot with just 2 swords. Previously, Binghua used dark energy to empower 7 kills to attack, but Hualai used it to counterattack. If it weren't for the Thunder strategy, which has the ability to move regardless of inertia, the projection that was in place would have been Binghua's fate. Binghua raised the 7 kills king sword and rushed forward. The next moment, 6 handleless silver swords separated from the king's sword, floating beside Binghua and rushing towards Hualai with her. Hualai swung the long sword in his hand, not afraid of you at all. Neither of them spread their wings. It would be better to say that melee combat is more flexible only by stepping on the ground. The screams cutting through the air sounded one after another, and the first attack was 6 handleless silver swords. Facing the attacks coming from all tricky angles, Hualai simply waved his sword to block the attacks. Binghua let out a low cry, held Tianming's hand and slashed vertically towards Hualai's back, but he turned around and hit the tip of the sword at an angle. Hualai didn't stop after swinging the sword. After adjusting the angle slightly, he knocked off a handleless silver sword on the side, and then hit the side spray of another silver sword with the back of his hand, changing its side. Attack trajectory. Binghua kept slashing with his sword, one sword after another, but Hualai refused to fight and just kept blocking the 6 handleless silver swords that surrounded him. A minute later, Hualai, who had been avoiding fighting, suddenly changed his movements and retreated. Binghua's eyes lit up when he saw this, and he rushed forward without hesitation, using the 6 handleless silver swords to form a sure kill situation. But who knew that Hualai regarded the silver swords around him as if they were nothing, and stretched out his palm to grasp the tip of Tianming's sword. The moment he was about to touch the tip of the Tianming sword, Hualai's left palm crooked and missed the tip of the sword. But the next moment, Hualai's open left hand violently grasped the Tianming sword. Binghua's reaction was also extremely quick. The hand holding the sword shrank back and he was about to withdraw the sword. Hualai seemed to be waiting for Binghua to draw his sword. He immediately let go of the hand holding the hilt of the sword, and at the same time he pounced forward, making a weird shape in mid-air, but he happened to avoid 6 handleless silver swords. Sword attack. After dodging the attack, Hualai slapped several of the handleless silver swords with his sword, adding some force. Binghua, who was advancing, had no choice but to move his sword horizontally and jump back at the same time to prevent Hualai from taking the opportunity to attack. Binghua and Hualai separated again, but it ended with Binghua's defeat. Binghua was at a disadvantage in both rounds of the battle, and there was no way Hualai could find any flaw. Seeing Binghua half kneeling more than 10 meters away, Hualai twisted his neck and raised the corners of his mouth slightly. After a long absence from this activity, my old bones feel surprisingly good. Okay, the warm-up is over. I believe that as the owner of a generation of divine bodies, you will not only reach this level. After speaking, Hualai's eyes became dangerous, and fluctuations of dark energy emerged around him. A faint burning orange light appeared on the broad blade straight sword in his hand, covering the sword body like a thin film, and the sides the blade of the sword is even brighter and redder. Seeing this, Binghua also stood up from the ground. The split silver sword returned to its destiny and restored to its original 7-killing king sword. It's not a difference in physical fitness, but a huge difference in experience and fighting instincts. Facing a being who has both attack and defense engraved into his bones, any sneak attack or trick is useless. This idea came to Binghua's mind, but it was not that he had no way to win. Since he couldn't win technically, he could only rely on the performance of the female angel body to decide the outcome. I hope that the old guy Hualai hadn't updated to the latest male angel body. An update today.